This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm recapping the economic and market conditions that are impacting you and your retirement nest egg this year. And today I want to take a look at the state of the U.S. economy, which in turn is a massive driver for stock and bond markets and your portfolio. The economy is pretty stable right now. Now, there's a lot going on. The economy is a very complex engine. And the real GDP, gross domestic product growth, is estimated in the kind of anemic range. No matter where you look, most economists or people who are pontificating about this are pegging GDP growth somewhere in the 1 to 2% range for this year and next year. It's sort of like a baseline scenario. Now, of course, shocks and other things can happen, but that's pretty low growth environment. And that takes into account the tariffs, but also, you have this unemployment rate that has remained pretty low. We just had the extension of the lower taxes from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act from 2017. Those were extended from the recent passage and signed into law of the Big Beautiful Bill. That should help provide more certainty for businesses and help boost growth, at least in the short term. Now, longer term, I know there's lots of news articles criticizing the Big Beautiful Bill because of its impact on the deficit. And I'm going to be actually covering this in more detail in a couple weeks, where now that it's signed into law, I'll dive into some of the details and what that means for you. But anyways, that's a podcast for another day. But we still have risks to the economy and the stock markets. The full impact of tariffs is still on the horizon. So with tariffs kind of fully making their way into the economy at some point in the second half of the year, we could see sticky inflation. We could see weakening consumer spending as Americans who are already pretty stretched financially pull back even more with higher prices, and also reduced business investment as well. Now, according to JP Morgan Asset Management, the inflationary impacts of tariffs have been delayed, not canceled. If you only have one takeaway from this entire week, tariffs delayed, not canceled. So you're going to see retailers who are going to start tacking on those price increases to new inventories as they're brought in. You're going to probably see inflation go up, especially by the latter half of the year. In that scenario. Now, that's all dependent, though, on sort of the current tariff rate assumptions going forward. Tomorrow's episode is dedicated completely to tariffs. But as we've seen, Trump announces tariffs and he backs off. And then, so it's this constant moving target, and it's really hard to peg that down. But assuming tariffs at their current rates are moving forward as planned, that's definitely going to have an inflationary impact. It's not going to cause hyperinflation, but you're going to feel it a little bit, especially if you're buying like a really expensive appliance or a dishwasher or a washing machine. Those bigger ticket items, I think, is where you're going to see a computer, an iPhone. Those are the kinds of things where I think we're going to see the most impact, not necessarily at the grocery store, and maybe not even at the gas pump either. We shall see. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow to talk at length about tariffs and their impact on the markets and the economy, and kind of the base case for where they're currently at, and if that materializes, what that could look like for you. All right, my name is Ashley Mitchikay, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips podcast.